This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is the second National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. We will bring you images from around the country, from around Winnipeg later tonight. But we begin this evening in the traditional territory of the Fox Lake Cree Nation, about 200 kilometers from Thompson, Manitoba. A team from CBC Manitoba has been in that community this week. CBC reporter Andrew Wilds is a member of that team, and he joins us now live from Gillam. Hello, Andrew.
Hi, Janet.
Now, what have the people from Fox Lake Cree Nation been doing today, Andrew?
Members of the Fox Lake Cree Nation held a walk today to honor the survivors of residential schools. They walked from their reserve in Bird about 4 kilometers to their cultural camp, where they held a gathering with children, parents, grandparents. There, the opening prayer was offered by a community member, Mary Beardy, and she offered it in Cree. She says she's slowly relearning her original language, which she almost lost entirely due to the residential school system. Janet?
Thank you so much, Andrew. Andrew Wilds reporting live tonight from Gillam. We'll check back in with him in just a few minutes. Here in Winnipeg, a sea of orange flowed through the streets of downtown. Thousands of people came out to show their support for residential school survivors and those impacted by its legacy. The CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
Colored in orange, they marched and chanted as one.
It's a wonderful feeling to see how much people are gathered here today. It's just breathtaking how much it's being noticed now than from before.
Last year's discovery of unmarked graves at residential schools was a catalyst, telling Canadians, some for the first time, of these tragedies. People in Winnipeg responded again by taking to the streets. On Orange Shirt Day, they're honoring residential school survivors and those who never made it home. Riley Brown marched for her mother, a survivor.
I'm pretty much wearing this for her and everybody else.
Patricia Yeloega and Valerie Pohl are remembering their late mother, who went to residential school but wouldn't talk about it.
As I got older and learned the truth of what happened with my mom, it made me a stronger person and appreciate my culture and regaining my culture.
The sisters like that Canadians are learning too.
It's a dark history of Canada that now all of our whole nation knows about, and we can come to more healing of the power of the people that stand behind us.
A Grand Chief says Orange Shirt Day is about honoring those who suffered.
But this is also a chance for healing and a chance for us to begin to move forward. And this National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is important to all of us. And it really makes me feel good also that a lot of Canadians support us.
In Winnipeg, they came in droves. They spoke as one. They banged drums, lit flares, and then went to a powwow at the convention center.
Very overwhelming, and so nice to see everybody come together as one.
One marcher said more people would have attended if Manitoba made it a statutory holiday. That's the government's plan, but it hasn't happened yet.
I'm sending videos to all my coworkers. They're all working today. It's unfortunate. This should be a holiday.
A university student says undoing the legacy of residential schools will take time, and it involves everyone.
People out here that are coming from a place of privilege who don't have to experience this, I think we need to be here to back those who have been saying this message for so long.
Attendees hope Orange Shirt Day is a step in that direction. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Events have been held across the country today to mark this National Day of Truth and Reconciliation and to reflect upon Canada's history with Indigenous people. CBC's Marina von Stackelberg reports.
A memorial cloth more than 50 meters long with the names of thousands of children. They were forced to attend Canada's residential schools. They never came home. Tiny shoes laid side by side, now a symbol of those lost children.
Without the advocacy and the contributions of survivors, September 30th would be just another day in the calendar.
The schools were funded by the Canadian government and run by churches. Ripped from their families, children suffered physical, mental, and sexual abuse. Thousands didn't survive. That trauma is still felt.
Residential school intended to assimilate us and destroy our culture, our language, and our way of life. We are still here. We will survive.
Leona Cutfeet's father struggled with addiction. He was a residential school survivor, but she never knew.
When he died, the kid that he rode with to the Mohawk Residential School made a post and said, "I remember I rode with Michael Matthews." That's how I found out. And now this day means so much to me. Yeah, it's healing.
On a day where non-Indigenous Canadians are called on to learn and listen.
I'm an immigrant to Canada. I get to reap the benefits of a system that does not own the land and was built upon it. And I think I've learned a lot.
The reason that racism exists, towards the Indigenous people is because of pure ignorance. It's a matter of stepping back and being willing to learn a little bit more about the history of our people, and the true history of Canada.
Survivors say this day is a hopeful sign Canada is beginning to acknowledge its past.
People are more open to talk, and people are getting there, and that's really hopeful for me and for my kids too, like that they're not going to grow up the way I did, where it was taboo to talk about anything like that.
Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
As Justice Murray Sinclair has said, truth must come before reconciliation. Members from Winnipeg First Nation say they were segregated from other students and faced daily abuse from staff when they attended Rossburn Elementary School. Our Joanne Roberts has the story tonight, and we have to warn you, it contains disturbing details.
We had to come this way, come walking through the hallway where it was dark, cold.
It's been 40 years since twins Michelle and Michael Brandon walked the grounds of their old elementary school. Even though their classrooms are gone, they'll never forget the segregation from non-Indigenous students.
I remember going to the back where it's called, we called it the huts.
They say students from Winnipeg First Nation were taught in portable classrooms behind the school. These rooms were built in 1968 and were supposed to be winterized.
I remember the coldness, could never be warm going there.
There was no elementary school on the First Nation, so the children were bused to the nearby town, Rossburn. In 1965, the federal government and the Pelly Trail School Division signed an agreement to build classrooms and educate the students. The agreement included a no segregation clause.
There's a lot of us that went there and a lot of people got abused.
Gilbert Longclaws remembers 4 huts. He was taught in all of them. Longclaw says he was only allowed into the main building to use the washroom.
I always thought that was for the smart people.
Longclaws and other former students consider Rossburn to be a day school. They want to be recognized by the federal government as day school attendees and receive compensation.
If I ever given any money, I'd be to all my grandchildren to help them with their future.
Day schools were run by the federal government and the church. Unlike residential schools, Indigenous children were allowed to go home at night. Children experienced abuse in day schools, and the government settled a class action lawsuit in 2019 to compensate them for harms caused. The federal government said it would be challenging to address these allegations by the Winnipeg students because it didn't run Rossburn Elementary.
I want to ask them, why aren't we included when we were abused in that school?
I just wish we were part of the Indian Day School settlement.
Many former students have been carrying their stories for decades and say they've only felt empowered to speak now because of the 94 calls of action by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Joanne Roberts, CBC News, Rossburn, Manitoba.
Emotional support is available for anyone affected by residential schools. If you need someone to talk to, you can access crisis referral services 24 hours a day at the number on your screen, 1-866-925-4419. A sculpture was unveiled today at the Mamawichasa Center in Winnipeg. It was designed and created by the late Irvin Head from Cranberry Portage, a tribute to survivors and their families, a place where people can come together. Sadly, Irvin Head died before the piece could be completed. Katie McKenzie is a support coordinator at the center.
Learning about what happened and acknowledging those tragedies, because that's really the first step, is acknowledging the truth. And then after that, we can move forward in reconciliation to have a better relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples.
McKenzie says the event was focused on youth and their path to reconciliation. Survivors of the Assiniboia Residential School in Winnipeg shared their stories at a ceremony today as well. They unveiled a new monument to the survivors of the former residential high school that stood on Academy Road. The monument includes a fire pit surrounded by paving tiles marked with the names of students who attended the school. The school closed in 1973. And take a look at this. This is the fountain in front of the Manitoba Legislative Building. We took this video last night showing the building and fountain lit up in orange to mark the second National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Now, let's go back to Gillam, where CBC's Andrew Wilds is standing by. Andrew, tell us about your time with the people of Fox Lake Cree Nation.
Janet, we've met a lot of people, and two people I met were two young men who are doing their part to keep their Indigenous practices alive. Despite the challenges that their community has faced. They took me out on the land to explain further. They have been fishing in the waters of the Nelson River since they were toddlers. John Henderson III and Drayton Job are from the Fox Lake Cree Nation in Northern Manitoba. The river runs through their traditional territory.
All these old timers, they taught me all their knowledge they've learned from when they were kids, going out to the coast, the Nelson, all over in Gillam pretty much.
The community's traditional practices of hunting, fishing, and trapping were all disrupted when hydro dams were built on the Nelson River in the 1960s. Finding a catch is a lot harder for their generation. Job says his elders told stories of the river being full of fish.
You could see them and you can go up and touch them and there'd just be just a long, thick line of sturgeon. Like it would look like rock, but it was just sturgeon, nothing but sturgeon. Now you can't see that.
Despite the challenges, Henderson and Job are passionate about passing down their culture. Job's already taken his daughters out on the land. Henderson is the new head of the youth trapping program. He says learning the culture keeps kids on a good path.
There's not much to do. If you're not going to do this, you're going to get in trouble, right? So it's better to stay out here and be one with everything.
Henderson and Job say growing up, they always heard stories about how the dams changed their community, and their proud Fox Lake has kept its traditions alive despite all they faced.
Just shows how tough we are. Nothing's gonna stop us. Like you can put up 10 dams, it ain't gonna stop us from getting out on the river and still providing food for our families and our elders and our communities.
It's good to know the stories in the past, but we can't live in yesterday. You can only look for tomorrow, and that's why we're out here doing what we do. Is because you got to look out for tomorrow, the next generation.
The food caught on the trip helps to feed the entire community. Henderson and Job say being there for each other is what their culture is all about. Andrew Wilds, CBC News, Fox Lake, Gillam, Manitoba.
Checking current conditions, we're sitting at 19 degrees now at the airport. Very few clouds in that sky. So 19 at the airport, 19 also at the Forks. Low 20s in southern Manitoba today. But you see, it's a little bit cooler up by the lakes. Only 16 in Gimli, 14 in Barons River right now. We've got single digits up north, 8 degrees in Gillam and Fox Lake Cree Nation. Taking a look at futurecast now, we've got some more cloud that's going to be building in over southern Manitoba. By your Saturday morning, it's pretty darn cloudy. But then, look, it breaks up through the day, so by the afternoon, we're having a mix of sun and cloud in southern Manitoba. Now, you see that rainy system that's moving up at the bottom of your screen from the States? It breaks up before it has a chance to make much of a rain threat for border communities. So that leaves us with a mix of sun and cloud for Saturday, a little bit of cloud hanging around for Sunday, maybe a slight chance of a shower for the very western southernmost corner of the province, and some cloud and a slight chance of showers for Monday. I'll have your 7-day forecast in just a little bit.
The weather update is brought to you by Home Equip, your trusted local source for Pride Mobility scooters. From sales to rental and repair, our team is here to serve you.
The cleanup continues across Atlantic Canada almost a week after Fiona ripped through the region. On Prince Edward Island, crews have restored power to more than half of the island's homes and businesses. They've been working to replace about 500 downed power lines and poles. More than 35,000 customers still have no power. In Nova Scotia, military personnel are helping with cleanup and safety checks in Glace Bay, that's in Cape Breton Island. About 350 members of the Canadian Armed Forces are in the province working now on cleanup. About 58,000 customers are still without power. The federal government is dropping all COVID-19 travel measures at borders starting tomorrow. Travelers, regardless of citizenship, will no longer need to provide proof of vaccination when entering Canada. They will not have to undergo any testing before departure upon arrival either, and the ArriveCan app becomes optional. Travelers also will not be required to wear masks on planes or trains. An iconic but controversial symbol of Canadian history and of colonialism may soon be seen as a gesture of reconciliation. The Hudson Bay Foundation and the Gord Downie and Cheney Wenjack Fund are launching the Blanket Fund. From now on, 100% of the profits from the sale of those iconic HBC point blankets will fund Indigenous, cultural, artistic, and educational activities. Ian Nairn is the president and CEO of the Bay.
We're going to get some things right and some things wrong, but I think if we have the right vision, ambition, and the right community engagement, then we'll be successful here and continue creating a truth and reconciliation framework, not just for our company, but lead corporate Canada in that journey.
Hudson's Bay Foundation is providing a $1 million contribution to launch the Blanket Fund. It will be administered by the Gord Downie and Cheney Wenjack Fund. Applications will be accepted through 2 different grant streams. The first round of grants is expected to be awarded next September. After the break, we're going to take you back to beautiful Gillam and Fox Lake Cree Nation to check in once again with Andrew Wilds. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. As you heard off the top of tonight's show, a team from CBC Manitoba has been in Fox Lake Cree Nation this week, learning about the community and getting to know people there. CBC's Andrew Wilds is standing by live now with one of the community members. Who's with you, Andrew?
I'm joined by Clara McLeod. She's the Harmonized Gillam Development Coordinator. Clara?
Hi.
Hi. What do you do in that role?
So my role as a Harmonized Gillam Development Coordinator is I work with the Hydro and the Fox Lake Cree Nation on initiatives that bring together the community with working with other resources within the community of both Gillam and Fox Lake. So I do service 2 communities where we prosper and where we want to grow and live together as one within the 2 communities.
Okay, thank you. Now, we're standing at this monument in the middle of the town of Gillam, and it's a monument about Fox Lake Cree Nation. What's the symbolism or the importance of this monument here?
I think this monument is a very, very traditional place for our Fox Lake members. We come here to gather as one. As you may have seen earlier, I did come and offer tobacco, and I did say a prayer. I did ask them for some guidance as they are here with us today as we talk, and we talking about the truth and reconciliation of those residential school survivors, those who have passed on, and to acknowledge them and that they are not forgotten.
As the province and as the whole country is talking about truth and reconciliation today, and you are in this strategic role, what lessons do you think the rest of the country could learn from what's the work that's being done between Fox Lake and the town of Gillam?
So between Fox Lake, the town of Gillam, and Hydro, we do try to work together. We've come a long way from the beginning since the development of all the hydro dams that come around us. I think when we come together as harmonized as one, I think it is very important to see community togetherness. And as you may have seen during your time here, you did see a lot of that, communities both together, working together, commemorating the painful and hurtful things that did happen during the residential school. So I just want to share and make sure that everyone does take a moment of silence to remember those who have passed on and who are not here with us today.
Thank you, Clara.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Janet.
Thank you, Andrew.
Back to you, Janet.
Thank you very much. Still ahead, we'll check in one last time with our crew in Fox Lake First Nation and bring you your 7-day forecast. Stay with us. All right, taking a look at your 7-day forecast, we're going to have some cloud moving in that will make Saturday morning cloudy, but then that cloud will break up in southern Manitoba and leave us with a mix of sun and cloud and a high of 18 in Winnipeg. More sunshine on our Sunday and a high of 21 degrees. Slight chance of a shower on Monday and unfortunately a lot of cloud. Then we've got into cooler temperatures. You see we're getting down to single digits by the end of the week. Well, it really has been a treat on this special day to share with my friend Andrew Wilds this time and let him bring you live coverage from Fox Lake Cree Nation. Andrew, this is your first time up in Northern Manitoba. How has it been?
It's been absolutely amazing. The colors here are stunning. When you look at the trees, it's hard to believe that what you're seeing is actually real, that it's not make-believe. I want to thank the members of the Fox Lake Cree Nation, the town of Gillam. I interviewed the mayor earlier today, everyone who hosted us. We have many more stories to share, and you can look forward to them in weeks ahead. Janet?
And we do. Andrew, great job tonight. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us this evening on this second National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. We leave you now with images from Winnipeg on this day. See you tomorrow, or Monday. See you Monday.